From WHYY, it is Hittin season. Hey there, podcast pals. I'm John Stolnis from The Good Fight. You can follow me on X and Blue Sky at John Stolnis. Coming up, the Phillies spend the last few days completely remaking their bullpen. We'll talk about the big free agent that they signed, a Phillies mainstay from the last 3 years on his way out the door. Actually not on his way out the door. He kicked his bottom. It did to Kansas City, and he's not coming back anytime soon. We'll talk about that trade. The Phillies also make kind of more of a minor signing or a minor trade with the Tampa Bay Rays to replace the guy they let go. And we'll talk a little JT Realmuto. We'll talk a little Japanese imports. The White Sox getting involved here in the offseason. And we're also going to, at the very end, as it's being just a couple of days before Christmas, we'll talk about the one piece of Phillies merchandise we'd like to see enter the marketplace that is currently not there. So that'll be at the end of the podcast. Make sure you stick around for that. Joining me here on the round table, Justin Klugh and Liz Rocher. Justin from Baseball Prospectus. He also hosts a couple of podcasts over at our Hittin Season Patreon, which is at patreon.com/hittinseason. Absolutely Hammered and The Dirty Inning are those two podcasts. He's also the author of a book coming out in February called Summer of the Cheap Wieners, which you can pre-order now. Justin, how's it going, bud?
Yeah, it didn't really occur to me. I didn't really see the pattern. We just kind of had the pieces in place, but things are starting to come together now that it's late December. But if you recall, the very fateful Dave Dombrowski press conference in which he made comments that Bryce Harper responded to, that Scott Boras responded to, and I was saying at the time, my biggest questions are about his comments regarding Matt Strahm, and the kind of snide way in which he responded to comments from Matt Strahm, which now it's kind of been reported that Strahm had his own ideas a lot of the time about stuff that was going on with Phillies, how they worked in the bullpen and everything. And perhaps that's what Dombrowski was sort of saying but not saying in the tone of his response to Matt Strahm. My point being that Strahm is now gone, and we've heard all offseason that Nick Castellanos is more likely than not to be on his way out. So I feel like one of the priorities of this offseason, other than the many that we've talked about for the Phillies the last few weeks, is it sounds like the squeaky wheels are getting greased right out of town, which I don't know if I would have really thought of squeaky wheels being a big problem for this team. But then again, who knows? And we've all heard about the something that was wrong in the locker room. I'm not saying it was any one guy, just the idea that there were issues. There were issues with, whether or not you wanted to be a part of what they were doing, or you're always bringing up, who knows? I don't know the specifics, but the point is that Strahm and Castellanos were both guys that kind of more or less got called out for that kind of stuff. And they're pretty much gone, both of them. So that seems like that was something the Phillies wanted to take care of, and might have been an underlying issue that we're never really going to know the full extent of.
Yeah, that's undoubtedly part of what's going on here, because those remarks by Dombrowski when Matt Strahm talked about Orion Kerkering not being able to feel the panicking when the ground ball came back to him at the end of Game 4 against the Dodgers, and we didn't really take any infield fielding practice, and Dave Dombrowski said, we took it, he never did, but we did do infielding practice, so it was eye-opening, and you're right, it just seemed like there's just we're done taking crap from people type of offseason, which, again, you don't hear much of that during the regular season. The Nick Castellanos thing this summer was really the first time we heard anything like that, but hadn't heard anything about Matt Strahm until that bubbled to the surface. And so now Matt Strahm is the left-hander who is out. And there's other reasons why it makes sense that he's the one who's gone, but we'll dive into those here in the next couple of minutes. Liz Rocher, the editor of Sabres Baseball Research Journal, is also here on the round table. Follow her on X and Blue Sky at Liz Rocher. Liz, just a couple days before Christmas, how are we holding up?
Doing great. I have baked nothing and will be doing nothing but that for most of tomorrow.
That's why we're rocking this podcast out on Sunday night, so Liz can have a full 3 days of nonstop baking. Are you familiar with Sally's baking addiction, Liz? Just out of curiosity.
No.
Okay, it's a website my wife loves, and all the stuff we get she makes from Sally's Baking Edition is really excellent. So just a little recommendation from me to you. Yeah, just
John Stolnis and wife approved.
That's correct. 100% Stolnis approved.
Not a paid performance.
No, this is not a paid advertisement.
No. Sally, if you would like to have a weekly mention, however, you could always contact us, hittinseason@billypenn.com. That's where you send emails to the show. That goes for anybody. All right. Anybody out there who wants to get on board the Hittin' Season podcast, just send us a little note, hittinseason@billypenn.com. We'll talk. It'll
Do
be fun.
you have recipes that you'd like
Do
to
you have
share with
recipes?
me?
Send them in.
Share recipes with us.
Yeah.
Do you have baking, dinner? Tell us what you're currently cooking. We're not a food podcast, but we do have interest.
And we did have a food conversation right before we got started, so we're kind of all in a particular mind frame right now as we're recording. So yeah, go ahead and send in some your favorite recipes to hittinseason@billypenn.com. All right, let's first talk about the one of the major pieces, the first step in this bullpen remake that the Phillies are undergoing, and that was the Phillies signing Brad Keller, right-handed relief pitcher of the Chicago Cubs, to a 2-year, $22 million contract. He will be the right-handed bridge to Joan Duran in the regular season for the next 2 years. He was fantastic for Chicago a season ago. 69 and 2/3 innings, had a 2.07 ERA. That was 13th best among 147 qualified relievers. 27.2% strikeout rate, 8% walk rate, both very good numbers. His fastball was around 96, 97 miles an hour, up about 3 or 4 miles an hour from when he was a starting pitcher. He's a converted starter, now a reliever, so his stuff really playing up now that he's at the back of the bullpen. 56% ground ball rate a season ago. That's the best of his career. He 86.7 mile an hour average exit velocity off of him, which is also extremely good. So a lot of really good numbers here, Justin, as we're starting off with this guy who was not really on any of our radars. I don't think we weren't really talking a lot about him. I know in the last podcast, we mentioned a couple other players instead and hadn't really gotten to Brad Keller. I really wasn't familiar with his game. I'll be perfectly honest with you. And reading more about him and seeing some highlights from a year ago looks to me to be a signing that makes a whole lot of sense and a rarity. The Phillies signing a reliever to more than just a 1-year deal. That tells you how much they like him.
Yeah, last guy they did that for just got shipped out of town to Kansas
That's right.
City.
That's
so
right.
yeah, uncommon multi-year deal, so they gotta like this guy. And when as soon as his name got published, you heard thousands of Phillies fans rush to Baseball Reference and get familiar with his game, as you did, John. And I think everyone was kind of pleasantly surprised to learn that, oh, we don't have to wait for this guy to figure something out this time. He appears to have already figured something out in 2025. Like, the Phillies are acquiring a guy who actually used last year to become the kind of pitcher you would want to acquire, rather than a guy that you're thinking, well, he was so bad last year, the bounce is going to go our way this time, and that we get a guy with a high ceiling who's going to figure it out. Fortunately, the way things look at the moment, it looks like the Phillies got a guy who really broke out in a big way in 2025. You mentioned some numbers. I'm going to mention some as well. 35 ERA on the road last year, which was better than his 2.70 ERA at home. So there's some effectiveness there that I don't think, a lot of pitchers obviously don't think the numbers are going the other way. He was one of 4 Cubs relievers to appear in 50 or more games and one of 3 to appear in 50 or more innings. He allowed 1 home run while he was pitching on the road.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. The sarcastic response is, hey, the Phillies replaced Jeff Hoffman. It took him a year, but they finally replaced Jeff Hoffman.
That's about right.
That's fair enough. But another highlight for him is that in his career, he's thrown 10 innings against the Braves that have been shutout innings every time. So the Braves have never scored on him. You mentioned that 97 mile an hour fastball. That's his sinker, which he throws a lot less of the time. His 4-seamer is his main pitch, and he really only hits like 94 with that, but he knows how to, he's learned how to use that. That was part of his development last year, is to learn his lesser velocity to still be an effective late inning reliever, because his hard hit ball rate was among the lowest in Major League Baseball last year. He was the word suppression kept coming up when I was reading his stats, because he suppresses these lineups. He's either getting them to chase, or he's getting them to keep the ball on the ground over 56% of the time, which was a career best for him last year as well. Baseball Savant says he compares to 2018 Lance Lynn, 2018 Joe Musgrove, and delightedly enough, 2 different Vince Velasquez's, 2018 and 2019. And another little note, he threw his sweeper 161 times in 2025. That led to a 45.8% whiff rate. So it's a good thing Adolis Garcia is going to be on the Phillies this year. There's no chance he's going to have to face this guy, because it seems like he's, the exact prey Brad Keller goes hunting for. All in all, a great way to address something that was an issue for the Phillies in their bullpen last year, which is, by the way, they were 29th in generating whiff rate out of their bullpen last year. So this guy would, theoretically, statistically, help with that. So, prepare yourself to learn that perhaps the Phillies may have gone out and signed a bullpen arm who is already rearing to go and already makes them better.
Right. Well, and Liz, that's the thing. When you sign, when you're limiting yourself to just 1-year contracts on relievers, chances are you're shopping in the retread or the bounce back candidate or the guys who haven't been good for 2 years who you're hoping, or guys coming off an injury or something like that. That's in order to get an established relief pitcher, an 8th or a 9th inning relief pitcher, you've got to go more than 1 year. You just do. And it seemed like Dave Dombrowski probably was learning from his mistakes the last couple of off seasons, and went out and decided, we need to actually stretch ourselves and give another year to a guy who we know is good, because it's so important to get through those 7th and 8th innings to get the ball to Jhoan Duran, especially come playoff time.
Yeah, I was thrilled to see that they had signed someone to a 2-year contract, because that was definitely limiting them last year. I mean, and it's $11 million. Like, that's not a lot. And that is something that if they need or want to trade him at some point, that is, a team could take on $5 million of that and it would still be fine. Like, signing a player to a contract like this is so low risk, I think, in the long run. And I'm glad I'm glad Dombrowski did that. Like, he really was limiting his market by just doing what he did last year. And I watched some Brad Keller over the weekend, and without looking at any of the things that Justin did, the word suppression came to my mind independently. Because you could see it when sometimes when the ball comes off the bat, it just looks like it's been stifled. You can hear it when it gets hit. And it's a nice thing to hear when a ball makes dull contact and it's just going nowhere. You're like, this is either going to be caught or it's already on the ground and in someone's glove.
The soft, wet sound of weak contact.
The soft, wet sound of failure.
Yeah,
that'll be the next Baseball's End transition on MLB.com.
Justin, you mentioned it. The Phillies really needed some swing and miss in the back of that bullpen. They had among the worst swing and miss as a bullpen a season ago, as you just said, and they needed somebody who had a little bit of velocity, which they didn't have a season ago. And so that's what Brad Keller certainly brings. When you talk about somebody who suppresses opposing hitters, that kind of reminds me of, you guys remember Jonathan Broxton. Phillies fans remember Broxton really well. Matt Stairs and the Carlos Ruiz game in the regular season in 2010, and a couple of different times when the Phillies got to Jonathan Broxton, Jimmy Rollins, of course. But Broxton was a really good relief pitcher for a few years because he threw a heavy ball. They called it a heavy ball. It was almost like he was throwing a pool cue, and just the way it would sink and the way it would just deaden upon a hitter's bat most of the time, with the exception of Matt Stairs, Jimmy Rollins, and Carlos Ruiz, right? I mean, those three examples notwithstanding, Broxton was very good at that. And so that's kind of what it sounds like Brad Keller is. That ball just hits the bat and it just dies on it. And I don't know how you do it. I don't know how he manages to make it happen so often.
Magic.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Or if he will continue to, I mean.
Right, right. Well, hey, there's red flags that have been pointed out. His 10.8% swinging strike rate is actually below the league average, and it doesn't support his above average strikeout rate. So maybe the strikeout rate comes down if he doesn't improve the number of swinging misses that he gets. And a 243 batting average on balls in play, that's the result of the deadening like you're talking about. But, does that continue? Does that follow through? But you can't know everything that's going to happen, especially with something as volatile as relief pitchers. All of the other peripherals would lead you to believe Keller is going to be a quality late inning reliever, something the Phillies did not have last year, and that is another trusted right-handed reliever in the back of the bullpen. No matter what Orion Kerkering, those little spells he went through where he was pretty good, there was never a moment where you just really relied on and felt good about Orion Kerkering in the back of the bullpen. They searched all season for right-handed relievers. And now, hopefully, they won't have to do that at the trade deadline this time around with Brad Keller now in the fold.
Yeah, it's comforting, and it really felt like the Phillies, I think it made people feel better even about Adolis Garcia, or at least forget about that if they were
Yeah.
somebody that didn't particularly like that deal. This was like, wow, this is a deft move that, like you said, like most moves this team makes at this point, they're moves nobody really sees coming. They're from places that nobody was really talking about. And this was one of those. And, seeing what he can do and that he fills the role the Phillies need without having to have like these like caveats stapled on or like, well, what we think is going to happen is this. It's more like, no, we got this guy who was playing well and now he's going to come here and play well. That's the plan. That's great. And then 2 days later, they traded Matt Strahm and that whole depth thing kind of went away again.
Yeah. Oh, we're going to get to that next. But I want to ask you guys, just based on your memory, do you remember who the right-handers were to start off the season in the Phillies bullpen?
I feel like we should. Whether we will is a different question.
I'll give you one. Jordan Romano, obviously, was the big one. There were three others. I'll count, and Taijuan Walker. I'll put Taijuan Walker in there, although I think Taijuan Walker, did he start the season in the rotation? I don't remember if he did or not. I think he started in the bullpen. So I'll give you Jordan
My guess is Taijuan Walker.
Taijuan Walker. Yeah, that's yeah. The others, would you guys want to take a crack? I can give you the names.
Is Joe Ross
Joe
right-handed?
Ross is one of them. That's three. There's two more.
God, these were guys that I just purposely did not learn the names of. Like I heard them and I'm just like, they're not going to be around that long, are they?
You said other than Kerkering?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Who was
I really don't know if you guys are going to get these.
Just tell us, please.
Yeah, just tell us.
Carlos Hernandez?
Nope.
And Jose Ruiz. Do you remember how much they were relying on Jose Ruiz to be the seventh and eighth inning guy
They tried him there a lot, and it was very, very, very bad.
They were relying on him to be the closer. Remember, and Jordan Romano came into the season as the closer. He was the guy. They were expecting to get all the saves last year. I mean, they had no plan for the bullpen.
They really didn't, did they?
It was all wishing on a star. And Dombrowski was like, we can't do that again. So I give the man credit for recognizing, the penny in the wishing well wasn't going to work this time around. You needed to actually go sign some relief pitchers who knew how to pitch.
You can't see you can't see what the Phillies saw last year and then come back and be like, well, let's do that. Like, it's an important aspect of this that he changed what he did and they did something else. I don't know how many pennies $22 million is, but that's how many he dropped down the well this time, and hopefully it's way more effective.
The well has been clogged.
The well is
whatever
no longer available
island
to anyone
it's
else.
on has now sunk.
Now I'm doing the math. 100 times 22 million would be 220 million, 2.2 billion pennies. Is that right?
Probably
2.2 billion pennies sounds about right. So it'd be 2.2 billion pennies if I
sure.
And again, if my math is wrong, hittingseason@billypenn.com. Let me know what the answer is.
Listeners, let us know. Could that many pennies fill a regulation-sized well? Along with Dave Dombrowski. He's in there too, don't forget.
I could hear my father, an accountant by trade, a numbers man who could do math in his head, which I have a tough time doing beyond regular stuff. I could hear him yelling
He's
at his
screaming
phone
at He's like,
right now.
No! It's so easy. Yeah.
Just add 2 zeros, you idiot.
That's right. Come on. Well, that's what I just said.
Add 2 zeros, morons.
I think it worked.
Utter boobs. Just do it.
Oh, man. All right, let's get into the next aspect of this. After the Brad Keller signing, the Phillies bullpen looked really, really deep. And then they go and they trade Matt Strahm. We all knew that this trade was coming. We knew that he was getting dealt. But I think the return for Matt Strahm was heartily disappointing for most fans because the expectation was that they were going to try and get a prospect, a mid-level prospect to buttress the farm system. And instead, they went out and they traded for Jonathan Bolin, relief pitcher for the Royals. Jonathan Bolin had a 3.86 ERA a season ago in 44 and a third innings pitched, 9.3 strikeouts per nine, 3.5 walks per nine. He's tough on right-handers, but a 1.218 whip. So decent, but, not otherworldly, not somebody who I think it was a lesser return than most people were expecting for Matt Strahm, who over the course of 3 seasons in Philadelphia was quite good, a 2.71 ERA across 3 seasons, 6.6 wins above replacement during those 3 seasons. Very good for a pitcher. Never had a season in Philadelphia in which he was under 2 wins above replacement. Last year, the numbers still looked pretty good. 2.74 ERA, 10.1 strikeouts per nine, 2.9 walks per nine, so a little under 3 walks per nine. But Strahm's numbers overall were down. Now, he made the All-Star team, of course, in 2024, was otherworldly 2 seasons ago, was one of the best relief pitchers in all of baseball, struck out a third of all the hitters he faced in 2024, but that was down to 27% a season ago. His walk rate went up from 4.6% to 7.8%. Again, from otherworldly to merely pretty good. And that was about the 53rd percentile in terms of walk rate. His fastball velocity dropped as well. It was 93.4 miles an hour in 2023 and 24. Last year, down to 92.2 miles an hour. His 59.0% fly ball rate was third worst among qualified relievers. I wonder, Liz, how much of this was, we talked about it a little bit at the top of the show. Some of this was clubhouse stuff. He was rubbing some of the people, some of the coaches and staff, some in the organization the wrong way, supposedly. But he was also due to make $7.5 million this year. And for a team that doesn't want to go over the luxury tax too much, or they're trying to limit their exposure over the luxury tax, there was certainly an aspect of this that certainly this looks like nothing more than like a cost-saving type trade. They argue, well, he was going to be a free agent after this year. Jonathan Bolin is under team contract for another 6 years. This makes all the sense in the world, even though Bolin's 29, and
I was
he's not as good a
literally
reliever
just
as
going
Matt
to
Strahm.
say he's 29 and has been in the he has been in the minors since 2016. He pitched in parts of 2 years, 23 and 24, and at 24 it was absolutely disastrous. I mean, this seems in a way cutting off your nose to spite your face, kind of like. I understand that they value clubhouse harmony quite a bit. And, that I believe that's an incredibly important part of making sure that the Phillies are comfortable. But Matt Strahm was a good pitcher. He's a good pitcher. Jonathan Bolin is 29. He might be good, he might not. But were the Royals the only team? Was that the best they could get? I don't know. These are questions we'll never know the answers to. But I'm just deeply dissatisfied by this. I really feel. I mean, if Dombrowski was being snide about it at a press conference, my guess is that they had him on the trade block because of this. I can't think of, I mean, this is just an opinion. I have no inside information, but in my view, I feel like if it comes out afterwards that he was annoying and bothering people, and now you see that they traded him for nothing. That's the only conclusion that most people can draw. I mean, it's the only conclusion I can draw. I cannot see a reason behind this. $7.5 million is some money, but it's not an enormous amount of money. Like, if you're going to cut guys to, save salary, I guess if you want to save $7.5 million or whatever, then sure, but it just seems dumb. The whole thing seems dumb, and finding that out about Strahm, that, he was rubbing people the wrong way or whatever. I was, I guess, not entirely surprised, but then looking at everything in combination, hearing, those reports and seeing the trade and the return, like, what else could you think?
I don't share a locker room with Matt Strahm, but I like Matt Strahm, and I'm gonna miss Matt Strahm, and I don't feel like any kind of like the whole clubhouse stuff was mentioned as like one sentence as like a larger story. I would be surprised if that was the driving force behind this. I think $7.5 million is a high amount of money for this team to be able to cut, because the higher amounts of money elsewhere isn't money that they can actually cut. This was a rare area of strength for them, lefty relievers that other people were actually interested in. They still have Alvarado and Tanner Banks. So like Matt Strahm, I think then maybe you can factor the clubhouse stuff in, anything that exists on that level there, because then it's sort of a happy coincidence if Dombrowski's like, you know what, of these three guys, there is one I would like to move, maybe there's overlap in other motivations as well. So I think it was more like that. And I think I kind of thought we'd get some Realmuto news not too long after this, because my first thought was, well, if they're cutting, if they want money for something else, they can throw it onto the whatever pile they're shoving in his direction, and maybe that's the difference. Who knows? But we didn't get that information. All in all, it was very funny to hear the Phillies explain it as, you guys don't understand. We got a worse pitcher for longer. It's smart. It's smart baseball. You don't understand. Gyro slider is Jonathan Bolin. So that's a term that always makes me perk up a bit, knowing a guy throws one of those. It's his second most thrown pitch after his four-seamer. And baseball, I was on a real player comp kick this week. Baseball Savant comps him to Shane Baz, the guy who just went to the Orioles from the Rays. But again, that's some ceiling stuff. I wanted to also mention that Anthony Esteban from The Good Fight mentioned he had a 43.5% whiff rate with using his four-seamer last year. So these are some nice things, effective things. All right, here's the bad news. He had Tommy John in 2021. After that, his walk rate doubled. He is considered by Baseball America to be more hittable since then, and he has also had shoulder and groin issues in that time. I'm not getting any high expectations together for Jonathan Bolin, and ultimately, yes, John, I think this was a deal made almost exclusively for salary purposes. It's not one that made the team better.
So I agree. I think what surprised me about this was that one of the reasons the Phillies were in the market to trade a left-handed reliever is because they were sought after. So I assumed that the return would be more substantial. It sounded like this was a not only just a trade of opportunity, I think they like the idea of clearing some payroll so they could do some other things. So I think that part, and before we even knew about the clubhouse stuff, we were talking about Matt Strahm as the most likely of these guys to move. The money just added up. And I did watch him pitch last year. He wasn't as good. His command wasn't as good. He gave up that big 3-run home run to Teoscar Hernandez in the playoffs. Now, he was always the Shohei Ohtani whisperer. He had tremendous success against Ohtani, so that's not nothing, the fact that they're losing that for whenever they face Ohtani next season. Thankfully, they don't play in the same division. Otherwise, maybe they don't make this deal. Maybe they keep him if they're going to face Ohtani more often. But that being said, they don't, and so I think they feel good about Alvarado and Tanner Banks. It's also a roll of the dice that Alvarado is going to be able to come back and be what we have expected him to be. Last year was a lost year for Alvarado. Came into the season throwing harder than he ever has, and of course, then he got suspended for PEDs. So, it's who knows what's real at this point.
I think a lot of people, myself included, forgot that Alvarado would even be back in 2026.
Right, exactly. So I do understand the argument by some that Strahm appeared to be slipping. The stuff wasn't as good a season ago. It's possible he's on a downward trajectory, and that you're looking at, if you're comparing 2023 Matt Strahm to Bolin, it seems like a stupid trade on its surface. But maybe the way these two players are going, maybe the Phillies see something else. I don't think, I struggle to believe that this is the best player they could have gotten back, but I doubt that Dombrowski's turning down deals for better players. So maybe the market for Matt Strahm isn't as good as we were thinking that it was. I don't know.
I just don't see that. I definitely see where you guys are coming from, and maybe I'm not counting salary enough. That's entirely possible. But the return is what sticks in my craw. Unless there's something that they see that no one else has seen, and they're just not telling us about it, I don't understand. Because Strahm should have been sought after. I don't think there's, a lot of, is there a lot of argument there from you guys? I think he's not highly sought after, but I thought there would be more than one team that might want him and would give up a player better than Jonathan Bolin.
I think he's also a player that you have more than one team offering a guy like him. So it's not like the Phillies have a ton of leverage, even if he's being sought after. And honestly, with the Royals, it's hard not to view this as a complete win for them. They get to throw him in there with Carlos Estevez and Lucas Erceg. That gives them one of the best backs in the bullpen in the American League. Certainly enough to win in the American League Central. That was a good move for them, honestly. And I'm not used to saying that.
No, they made out
really well in that trade because they gave up Jonathan Bolin for a
Jonathan
guy
Bolin.
who's Jonathan Bolin, who's for a guy who's going to play a significant role in their bullpen next year.
Yeah, but you never know. Maybe Caleb Cotham saw some footage and was like, I can work with that guy. Same as we know Kevin Long's done with a couple of hitters. I mean, the Phillies are a place where pitchers come and get better. That is very true. So you being able to rely on that as a strength in these situations as they're collecting these guys, that 23-year-old hard thrower whose name I already forget they collected the other day. Less so Bryce Wilson, but he still falls into this category of pitcher. Guy we're going to talk about in a couple minutes, Kyle Backus. Like, they're collecting the guys that you're hoping can like be that role, that level of guy who comes here and they aren't a high profile guy with this known top ceiling that's trying to work their way back from something. They're trying to be the pitcher they want to be. And if Bolin still qualifies as one of those guys, having his first full season last year be not great, maybe the Phillies think they can work with him. I don't know, but ultimately, Liz, yeah, I'm with you on the point that at the end of the day, this is a lame return for a guy who put up some pretty decent numbers here. Motivation for that, who knows? But ultimately, I think the Phillies were going to be trading Strahm, whether they had like other kinds of issues with him or not this offseason.
I think that's fair, absolutely.
And for Bolin, it sounds like he's going to be the number 4 right-handed reliever out of the bullpen, which, I mean, last year, the Phillies were really hurt by guys like Joe Ross and Jose Ruiz and Carlos Hernandez. So if he can be competent in that role, if he can give you the kinds of numbers this year that he gave you last year in that role, he'll be useful. So I'm not saying that it's a waste, but clearly I think the return is not what we were expecting. So we'll see how that shakes out. Now, one of the things the Phillies did, I think, that they believed would help them backfill the loss of Matt Strahm. This is obviously not a 1-for-1 replacement, but they went out and they did acquire another left-handed reliever. They traded with the Rays for Kyle Backus. Justin just mentioned him a minute ago. The Phillies give up a minor league outfielder, Avery Owusu-Asiedu. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Debuted for the Diamondbacks last year, was his rookie season, 27 years old, hit a 4.62 ERA in 32 appearances. So overall, the numbers for him, not so good, although he did get a couple of saves. He got 10 holds, so he does have some late inning experience with Arizona down the stretch. Throws a sinker ball, doesn't throw very hard. He has a weird, funky sidearm delivery. His arm angle is at 9 degrees, which is among the lowest release points in the league. He's got long extension, so he's a funky left-hander, kind of in the same way as like Jake Diekman, if you can remember back, even a lower arm angle than Jake Diekman had. He was very good. I know, not a bad pull by me there, huh?
No, but he had a delivery I really enjoyed watching because it was so strange.
Yeah. Who's the guy that pitched? I think it was for the Brewers that always gave Bryce Harper a hard time. Who came from the left side. He was a former Philly who ended up going to Milwaukee and a couple other different places. I'll remember in just a few minutes. It's not that big a deal. But anyway, Kyle Backus against lefties a season ago, very, very good. 41 plate appearances versus left-handers, a 139 average allowed with a 225 on base and a 278 slugging percentage. He allowed a 503 OPS to left-handers. Unfortunately, with baseball's rules that make relief pitchers have to pitch to at least 3 players, you better hope Backus faces a string of lefties, because if a right-hander's coming up, batten down the hatches. In 74 plate appearances last year against right-handers, he had a 988 OPS allowed, 365 average, 417 on base, a 571 slugging percentage. So the splits,
417 on base?
Yeah, the splits did one of these. The East, as far as the East is from the West, those are the left-right splits for Kyle Backus with the Diamondbacks a season ago.
Well, Caleb Cotham has his work cut out for him here. Get to work, sir, right now.
This is why you pay him the money, though, right? This is his job. I mean, he's got to love these kinds of things. So, I mean, I would be, he's going to get a shot in spring training to be the third lefty out of the bullpen. May or may not happen. We'll see how he looks in the spring, but I like the addition. I like having a guy who at least can get left-handers out. So let's say you're coming up against the Dodgers order, and you got Shohei coming up, and Max Muncy in there as well, or something like that. Freddie Freeman, you got to face Ohtani and Freeman at the same time in like the 5th or 6th inning, and your starter doesn't. Hi, Kyle, go ahead in, give it a shot. So,
yeah. I mean, I found some like from his minor league days when he first played in his first pro season. It really took him about half the year to really just have things click into place, and then finally they did, and he started striking guys out at a 34.5% rate, which was very encouraging at the time. And then he just rocketed from high A up to triple A, and then he ran right into a wall of injuries, which the guys who are getting acquired in this way and joining the team in this way are typically guys you can find that in their history somewhere. It's like, yeah, he had an unfortunate non-contact, tripped over a bucket, whatever. Yeah, and now he's just trying to like work through the fallout of those many injuries and like make his adjustments and figure out how he throws. I know John mentioned low angle arm guy, that's obviously a factor in this, and being a sinker baller is a big factor, but he lets the ball into the air too much, even though he can limit hard contact. The ball is just constantly in the air. So what do the Phillies have here in Kyle Backus? They have a left-handed reliever who gives up a lot of scary fly balls. Sign me up. Wait a second. Didn't we just trade this guy to the Royals? Only that guy was an all-star? No? Okay, fine.
You see, it's the sum total of these moves. I mean, Brad Keller's great, but the sum total of these moves I'm not necessarily thrilled by.
Honestly, I'm still thinking this is just like the ebbs and flow of a bullpen. Like,
I mean, it is.
Like,
yeah, it's
honestly,
just,
like
it's the bullpen.
Guys come in and they're just kind of nothing, and then they zip up and suddenly they're Orion Kirkeringing their way into like the main rotation of good relievers in big spots, or they just never figure it out and they just kind of fall away naturally. I mean, that's a lot of this. I think is just that guys don't stick around in bullpens for like 5-6 years a whole lot of the time.
No. I mean, we couldn't remember the names of the guys that started in the season that just ended.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that this bullpen right now is better than the one they started last season with. Duran, Keller, Alvarado, Kirkering.
Sure.
It's a pretty
Duran
good four
already.
banks. Yeah, it's a better
Duran
bullpen. And I think Bolin is more of a certainty than Jose Ruiz was or Carlos Hernandez was. Kyle Backus is an interesting lottery guy. He's like, he's your number 7 reliever. I'll take a flyer on a guy like that who has a very specific skill that you can work with.
If that guy can do one thing as well as he's done his one thing, that's pretty good.
So give that a shot. And he's young. And you're betting on some young upside as opposed to like a veteran who's trying to bounce back off a subpar season and injury. I'll take my chances on a young guy who maybe hasn't hit his ceiling yet. And then you've got Rule 5 pick Zach McCambley, who is going to most likely be in the opening day bullpen as a right-hander, probably your last guy, your number 8 guy. And there's still Taijuan Walker, who has will probably, unless he gets released or traded, will probably figure into the bullpen somewhere unless there's an injury. So, I think it's a decent bullpen. They clearly have decided to go in a different direction here this offseason. Bring in some younger guys, bring in some velocity, bring in some guys that maybe you can dream on a little bit, but you still have 4 or 5 guys who you should reasonably expect. I mean, I expect Orion Kirkering to be better this year than he was a season ago at times. I mean, the stuff's all there. I expect, will Tanner Banks be as good? That's an open question. We'll see, but again, Caleb Cotton, we've talked about before, makes a lot of the guys who come in better. So we'll see what tricks he has up his sleeve, with this.
I would like to cut in here real quick. There's breaking news on the MLB, not Phillies. I mean, it might be indirectly Phillies related, but the Boston Red Sox have acquired Wilson Contreras from the St. Louis Cardinals, according to Jeff Passan of ESPN. They're calling him, first baseman Wilson Contreras. But I was thinking, okay, wait, does this impact their interest in other catchers? Was my first thought. But am I thinking of the wrong Contreras?
No, you're right. He played catcher for the Cardinals. They transitioned him to first base last year, but he
That's right.
He could be a catching option if the Phillies if they don't re-sign JT Realmuto, there was conversation like, should they trade for Contreras and move him back to catcher? But it sounds like that he'll play first base, but he can catch.
But then if he were to be a catching option, if they consider him at all impacting their catching depth, which is already so deep, they have like 5 catchers over there up in Boston, by the way.
Yeah.
So frustrating.
Take one.
Just like share the wealth.
Yeah.
Please.
And yet they're still in on like Realmuto. They just have like these young, raw guys that nobody's really the one yet from this group.
They want Realmuto to pick one, to discover his successor, pick the gem.
Well, let's talk a little JT Realmuto because the two sides obviously have not agreed to a contract. All the reporting is that the Phillies have have a contract offer out to him. They're kind of waiting on him at this point as he is assessing offers. He obviously hasn't gotten anything that he likes better yet at this point. Matt Gelb in The Athletic wrote that the Phillies have been involved in trade conversations about potential alternatives. We've talked about some of them on the podcast. Some of them are interesting. Some are no longer available in trade. There's no indication, according to Gelb, that anything is close on the trade market for catching, but it has been argued, and I think intelligently so, that the Phillies could refuse to sign JT Realmuto, find a trade partner for Bohm. Really even doesn't even matter kind of what you get back, but by freeing up the money for Bohm and for Realmuto, could be, $10 million for Bohm. Let's say Realmuto gets $15 million a season. That's like $25 million that you're playing with extra right now to go sign Bo Bichette or Alex Bregman for the middle of the order. And then you just have one of those guys in the middle of the order, and then you roll with Marchand or if you work out a trade somewhere else for somebody unproven, stick them at the bottom of the order. Makes a lot of sense to me if they were to go down that road. I just don't think it's realistic. I don't see that as actually happening.
Wait till you hear what I'm about to say. Go ahead, Liz.
Oh God, now I'm afraid. I mean, I don't think it's realistic at all. I also don't think it's a very good idea, if only because what you lose in Realmuto is more than just his offense. You lose his relationship with all the pitchers. And I have a crazy conspiracy theory that they've traded Matt Strahm now because Realmuto didn't like him. That's now what I'm telling myself. They traded Matt Strahm because Realmuto did not like working with him. And now they're seeing if that will help him come back.
As a completely uninformed person on any level with a specific issue, I can say that I can totally see that.
Right?
I totally can see it. I don't know that it's true or not either, but I can see that.
Thank you. Okay, I'm glad. Thank you for not thinking I'm totally insane.
No, that's not crazy.
How big team would it be of the Phillies to lose out on Realmuto and then, do what John said and then just be like, okay, fine, pivot to Cody Bellinger and ride it out with whatever's available at catcher? I mean, hey, look, that's what a team that wants to compete now would do. Like, that's what they would do. But the more realistic thing is, I think we got our first real raw list of backup plans for JT Realmuto, courtesy of MLB Trade Rumors, that had the following list of guys who could potentially replace JT Realmuto based on what's available, what the Phillies seem willing to do, etc. You're talking about J.C. Escarra of the Yankees. Now, I will say, each of these guys has a thing that is I'll give you, each one does the thing that's the best. So J.C. Escarra, he's 30 years old. He has the best story of any of these guys, and that
that really matters.
How many wins above replacement is that worth, I wonder?
He was still trying to make it as a Major League Baseball player and was starting to drive for Uber. And that was just considered the story of the year on the New York Yankees beat. He's a third-string catcher with no bat who's projected to, quote, cling onto the back spots of rosters for the next few seasons.
That's great work if you can get it. I'm sorry. If you can swing that, congratulations, young man.
No one has an issue with J.C. Escarra. The issue would be with acquiring him to be your catcher, as they could potentially do with Connor Wong, who's the best hitter of this group. 29 years old. He hit .280 with 13 home runs in 2024, but he had this breakout that's been constantly postponed because he had what's called a carpal boss, which is a growth on a hand bone. Finally got it removed. That's supposed to be beneficial. However, he also broke his pinky back in April, so his hands are just, who knows what you're getting down there.
He's gotten just huge giant bandages in all of his fingers.
That breakout did not happen in 2025. Huge drop off from 2024, and actually was the starting catcher until he lost his starting catching job on April 8th, which has to be a record for fastest starting job lost.
That did not take long.
So
we got Jose Trevino.
Wait, that 33. Guy was the best bat?
Yeah, because he had a breakout offensive season in 2024 that they're assuming, like, okay, he can possibly even go even higher there, and then these injuries kind of made his 25 be bad. Jose Trevino's 33. He was a great defender. He's excellent framer. I think you could say he's the best framer of this group, but he has never been a good hitter, and his defense got worse last year. And then you have Pedro Pages, who's 27. He's considered an above-average framer, and he has pretty good pop time. Fangraphs has him as the 7th best catcher, but he is a terrible hitter, a bad blocker, though he did catch 25% of base stealers, and he's controlled through 2030, and this kind of hits on what Liz was talking about. He was the only one of these guys who was listed as being particularly good with the pitching staff. But I'm only saying this not to freak anyone out, but just to, this was the first time I was like, this is the proper amount of expectations for a backup plan to JT Realmuto. This list, these
You're
guys,
completely right.
these other ones, like as far as the catcher goes, John.
Yeah,
you
no, I
can
know.
do this and then go make your big deal elsewhere. But this is, I think, the pool they play in if Realmuto's not coming back.
And if this is the pool and you can't sign Realmuto, it's Marchand. Don't overcomplicate things. You don't need to bring any of that crap into the organization.
Don't bring that crap in here. We got crap at home.
That's right.
Crap all over the place here. We're bringing more crap.
Poor Rafael. I love Rafael Marchand. The guy who doesn't hit home runs until he's playing at the major league level.
Yep.
But like, if you've got an attic full of stuff that you've been meaning to take to Goodwill, you don't need to go to a garage sale to get more stuff. Right?
Is that what I did this weekend? Kind of.
I'm just saying, don't do that. Liz is on it. Liz is on it. She knows what I'm talking about. Just the reverse of that. Anyway, that's good though. I think that is helpful to be realistic about the trade options. Dalton Rushing of the Dodgers is probably not getting traded. It's like, yeah, that's right.
Ultimately, they're bringing him back. Honestly,
they have to.
This is going on for so long, and blah blah blah. And I'll be surprised if the answer to all of this isn't the Phillies agree to terms with JT Realmuto.
I'll say this: the longer it goes on, I don't think the offers are going to get better for Realmuto. That's not how it normally works, unless you're like a big stud where you have like the Harper sweepstakes and the Machado sweepstakes a few years ago, where you're just kind of these negotiations are way more like this is JT Realmuto. He's a limited offensive catcher. He's still got some plus to him. He's still got some positives. He's the best free agent on the market, but this is not a market setting deal or anything like that. This is just kind of it's kind of crazy that it has taken this long. If there's no 3-year deals out there yet, I don't think they're coming in a month.
No.
If anything, the closer you get to spring training, the more teams go bargain hunting, right? Much of their money's already been allocated. Now maybe he's waiting for some of these guys like Bregman or Bichette or Bellinger, some of these big money guys to come off the table, and then teams can turn to some of their smaller spending. I just don't see that.
It kind of feels like money is money, and I know that's like the chief factor here, but it feels kind of beneath Realmuto to wind up like waiting to see who blows their knee out and has a new need at catching. Like, I feel like he wouldn't be doing that. I don't know. I feel like he's waiting for more. He wants more years and feels like he has leverage, and the Phillies are like, they might feel like they have leverage. They're like, go ahead, man, wait for your offers. We don't think they're out there. And he's like, go ahead. Think of who replaces me and see what's out there. And they're both kind of like in this standoff where neither one of them has the leverage maybe they think they do.
No, and I think because of that, in the end, they're just going to get back together. Because does Realmuto...
Like all the best couples we know, they looked around and said, you know what, I can't do any better, and stayed together.
Happy millennial anniversary, everybody.
That's right. That's right. Real quickly, just want to hop on this before we get to our Phillies holiday merchandise. Munetaka Murakami, the guy who came into the offseason as the big Japanese star, the huge hulking Kyle Schwarber-like left-handed slugging machine out of Japan. A lot of people thought he was going to get a 7-year contract, almost $200 million. He's going to be the most sought after guy, the next big thing to come over from Japan. Well, apparently there are enough questions about his ability to make contact, swinging and missing too much, his ability to play defense in the major leagues and handle major league pitching, questions about his ability to hit high velocity, has resulted in him taking a 2-year, $34 million deal with the Chicago White Sox. This is obviously, he wants to establish and prove to himself that he can hit major league pitching. And so he's going to the White Sox, a place where he's going to, be the star of the city, really. I mean, for that franchise, he's going to be their number one draw. Again, makes all the sense for the White Sox. A team that has had no publicity, no press, nothing these last few years except how awful they were. Now they have somebody that you want to go see. They might get a little bit more time on national television because you might want to see them. Certainly, they're going to see some interest. Their numbers tick up from Japan. I imagine there's going to be a whole bunch more White Sox jerseys popping up in Tokyo or wherever it is that Murakami was playing beforehand. So in that case, it makes a lot of sense, and for Murakami, it makes sense. Those deals just weren't out there. Obviously, it gives him a chance to come to the majors. He gets a good amount of money. It's a solid contract. He'll be set for life, but it gives him a chance to re-hit the free agent market in 2 years if he has the kind of season he thinks he's going to have. So, any quick thoughts on the Murakami signing, and does that mean anything for the Phillies and whether or not they might be pursuing Japanese players?
I think they will continue to. I don't think this wound up being, the guy. Like we've said before, talking about Tatsuya Imai, he seems like the more, now that we're at that kind of guy with that kind of attitude, we're closer to the Phillies signing their first big guy out of NPB baseball. But ultimately here, I thought it was just hilarious the way maybe like a week and a half went by of everyone being real hot about this guy, and then everyone's just freaked out real quietly, real quick about the contact, about the defense. Some teams did offer him lengthy contracts. It was reported they were just going with lower annual amounts too. They weren't willing to go much beyond. So he basically had to choose, do I want that long-term deal, or do I want to get as much money as I can before we find out maybe this didn't work. Maybe I can't adjust. And he went with, let's make that money, which, totally makes sense. And the best part is, I almost feel like this is the perfect place for him to land, him specifically, because of the low expectations and the low pressure that are going to allow him to figure things out. And they said he's not playing third base. We're moving him over to first, easier position than third base, having to work that out and play that position while he's still trying to adjust to Major League Baseball. He's not going to have to worry about that. That's a good spot for him, and I think that ultimately is probably the best fit. But like you said, I'm not particularly sad that this guy's not going to be on the Phillies anymore. I don't think ultimately they were really considered close contenders by the end of his negotiations anyway.
I'll say, Liz, and let me know what you think about this. I think if the Phillies, I don't think they're going to sign a whole lot. I really don't see them signing any American-born player or established major league free agent or making a trade for a large salaried, high salaried player for the rest of this offseason because of the luxury tax thing. But I do think because of how much they've been talking about wanting to get into the Japanese market, the work that they've been doing to try to get that established, the fact that they offered Yamamoto a $300 million plus contract a couple of years ago, as much as the Dodgers offered him and when he chose to go to LA, I think this is the one area where they are willing to blow up their budget, because they're going to look at it and see the long game. Like, if we get a major star, if we get Imai, or if we get Kazuma Okamoto, the third baseman, right-handed hitting power hitter, who I think would be a perfect fit for the lineup, even better than Murakami would have been. If one of those guys agrees to sign here, they have to do it. They can't say all of this stuff that they've been saying about wanting to get into the Japanese market and then say, well, it was too expensive. You know how much these guys were going to cost. So that to me is somebody if you're looking for one player, it's not going to be Bichette or Bregman or Bellinger or whatever they're going to be willing to blow up their payroll for. Imai, Okamoto, I think those are the guys they blow it up for because it's a long game.
I definitely agree. And I'm glad you came up with this. I'm glad you told us about it, because I was, and still do have the opinion about the Phillies that if you are that scared of the luxury tax, you don't actually want to win. You don't care as much about winning as you say you do. And that's my opinion on John Middleton right now. He doesn't want to win as much as he says he does because he's super scared of the luxury tax. But I think you're right. I think he will absolutely blow it up for a Japanese player, because that just opens up so many more doors, because it's not about just location. If they sign a Japanese player, they'll go back and talk about what the organization was like, how they were to play for. Were they friendly? How were the fans? How were the Japanese media treated? How was his family treated? His interpreter, that type of thing. And if the Phillies can make that work for him, if they can give him a reason to go back and say great things, that's where the door opens, because it can't be about location, because it takes an extra 5 hours, 5-ish hours to get to, California before you set off for Japan. So it can't ever really be about location for a player. It has to be about all those extra things. And the Dodgers, it seems like they do provide them in addition to being close by, but like those are the things that are going to make the difference for the player. Like one of those sort of customized Juan Soto contracts that sort of sets out a couple of things that make him different and that will treat him differently.
And if anybody is particularly feeling some kind of devastation that Munetaka Murakami is not going to be on this roster, I will also just read off a list of notes from various scouting reports that I found funny. He struggles with high velocity and off speed.
That's everything.
Okay, cool.
That's
We're all
kind
thinking
of
the
a
same
lot.
thing. All right, great.
All right.
His thoughts, his home runs have almost entirely come on fastballs, but he makes poor contact on every type of pitch, including fastballs. That's where you get his 40% whiff rate on splitters, changeups, curves, and sliders. That's according to Hannah Philippi of Southside Showdown. Players like Murakami, his comparisons have been Joey Gallo, Bobby Dahlbeck, don't historically excel in Major League Baseball. He is repeatedly referred to as a below-average defender. The White Sox want to get like 30 home runs and better contact out of this guy. Like that's what they want the end result of all this to be. But ultimately, they are going to have to coach it out of him.
Well,
I'm sure the White Sox staff is definitely up to the task.
That's right. There's one place players go to get better. It's the Chicago White Sox.
Or the Angels.
That's right.
Best of luck, Jordan Romano.
That's right.
$2 million. $2 million.
That's right. Jordan Romano went to the Angels. Yeah, on a major league deal.
They paid him what last year? Was that 10? Was
10,
it 10 million?
Was it 10 million?
Yeah. $10 million.
$10 million. Yeah, that's good.
Has Max Kepler signed anywhere yet?
No, not yet. Not yet.
I'm going to keep an eye on that.
Keep an eye on that one.
Just for funsies.
All right.
Just for fun.
I think it is fun. All right, to finish up, we're going to talk as with Christmas time rapidly approaching. There are obviously we all love getting gifts concerning the Phillies, Phillies merchandise, all that kind of stuff. But there are holes in the market. There are things that should be out there that aren't. And so we're going to go around quickly and just talk about one Phillies piece of merchandise that we would like to see exist so that we could buy it for ourselves or for someone else, the Phillies fan in your life for Christmas. I've got one in mind. I think you guys both have one in mind. Liz, let me start with you on this one. What is one piece of Phillies holiday merch that should be out there that isn't?
As a woman, I have trouble finding a lot of the things that I want as a fan of sports. It's got a lot better over the years. It started with, me looking at the Alyssa Milano collection on shop.mlb.com. She had her own line of MLB clothing. I think it was
my God.
Touched by Alyssa Milano.
Victoria's Secret did too, didn't they? They had all those shirts. There was they had 5 or 6 teams that actually were featured. And this is, indicative of when I was in the dating pool. But they were all saying meet me in the dugout, or let's kiss in the on deck circle, or stuff like that. Yeah, they all had phrases like that on them.
I was excited. I remember that and was excited about it until I saw it, and then I wanted to burn it.
It's idiosyncratic of an innocent time. We didn't know any better.
Kiss me in the on deck circle. No, I'm a baseball fan. Get away from me. You're a baseball player. You've been in the dirt and spitting things onto people and in dugouts, and no, get away from me.
Yeah. Parents, if your kids are listening, just tread lightly here at this point on the podcast, just FYI. All right.
Not like he's talking about lingerie.
I was going to say, oh no, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Liz.
No, please.
Well, I was going to just go into mine, which has been kind of ruined. Well, two of them have kind of been ruined. One, I was going to say the best and ultimately the thing they're missing the most as far as Phillies souvenirs go. I would just love, and I think we've all thought this at some point, I would just love to have the kind of sign that you would put in your yard for a politician you support, or if your house is for sale, one of those signs in your yard that says the word Phillies and then has a picture of a forest and like a giant moon, and then the silhouette of a Sasquatch. And he's wearing really messily photoshopped Phillies gear to make you think, you know what? They probably do these for every team, and someone who doesn't even know how to use graphic design put this together. And then underneath all of that, it says believe, and then in a different font under that, it says in your team. So that you're telling people who come by, no, don't believe in Sasquatch. That's ridiculous. Believe in the team that is represented by the gears the Sasquatch is wearing on this sign. So I was going to say that was the thing that's missing. But lo and behold,
Oh no!
look what totally exists. So I took my thing right from me. Unbelievable.
What are the odds?
What are the odds? I ask you. So then I was going to say they need to come up with do one of those hats with hair on it for Matt Strahm's hair. You know what I mean? Like a ball cap with his hair hanging down the side. But obviously
that can't happen now.
Ruined as well. So I had two good ideas and both totally ruined / stolen from me.
Completely.
Just awful scene here at the Hittin Season podcast. Yeah.
I can't believe.
For anyone watching on video, the sign I described totally exists and I have no explanation.
I think they got it with the context clues.
Why?
They got it. Yeah.
I don't know.
All right. So let me continue. I'll continue. So MLB has gotten a lot better. Fanatics sucks, but MLB in general has gotten a lot better with offering women's options. Unfortunately, it's a lot of like girly shirts, which is fine. Sometimes I want to wear that shirt, but if I'm going out, it's weird to wear like a shirt that looks nice, but is actually for a team. It feels weird. Like would you wear that to work? No. So what I'm really looking for is like, I want a jersey or like a sweater. And it has all of the stuff that you find on like the dude jerseys at Majestic or Mitchell and Ness. You go in and it's got all the patches on it. It's like maroon pinstripes, or it's, the powder blue, or one of the other cool uniforms that they've done that just don't come in women's sizes. Was this whole exercise, did I come up with this as an excuse to rail about this again? You bet.
I think those are both. Go ahead, Justin.
I was just going to say, I feel like I'm in the market for a throwback home maroon pinstripes Ryan Howard jersey.
Yeah, that would be hot.
I think that's where I'm at.
Yep, that would be. They need to bring back those uniforms every once in a while too.
They do.
Those are I love the powder blues, but the home maroon and white pinstripe is.
They wore them at least
clean.
once a couple of years ago. I have a baseball card with Howard wearing them. And
they did it once.
He looks great.
A couple times. It's so clean. It's so clean. It is a beautiful uniform. The color scheme is tremendous.
But that's what I want.
Yeah.
Because despite the fact that we've got incredible technology now, we've got the entire world in our hands, there's no way that they can do that. They can't sell it. They can't. They have a really cool like Letterman's cardigan, I think at Mitchell and Ness at some point. It was incredible. It was so neat. It had the patches on it. It was maroon, the big Phillies P. Not in women's sizes. I could buy a dude one, but unfortunately I'm a woman, and I personally at least have breasts. And it's a little tough to wear stuff made for dudes if you have breasts. And so I'm just looking for parity. I'm not even looking for special stuff. I'm just looking for parity. All I want is parity. Give me the things that the dudes have access to. Why is there no option, by the way, for us to go on the internet and create our own jerseys?
How does that that doesn't exist?
Yeah. Thank you. I'm thinking
Did that not used to exist? Where do these jerseys come from? Do you see it
Well, those are typically, I'm going to say, those are custom jerseys that you can order that have your name and a number on the back of them. What I'm thinking, though, is like every team has cool uniforms. How is there no way to go on and be like, here's a list of the players who have played for blah, blah, blah. Here you could get their thing on the back. Here is the uniforms that are available. Would you like to have this player's name on this uniform? How is that not a thing? They would make at least $1,000 from me right now, and I don't even have that much money available.
Nor me.
They got to do
Yep.
Got to do better with women.
Yeah.
People want to give you their money. Major League Baseball.
Good.
Like
Begging to give them
and we know you want
$200
They want the money.
For
They
a
do.
jersey.
You want our money. You keep charging us for it. So
Exactly.
let people give you more.
All I want is to give them my money for the things that I want. And yet they don't want it. Fine.
She'll keep it.
Fine.
She'll keep it. Etsy is going to get all her money, and that's your fault,
Nope.
MLB.com.
Etsy is an AI hellhole. Do not go there.
I will say that it's worth mentioning, as always, that the Philly sports in general have an illustrious independent artist community.
Yes,
that you
they
can
do.
Find anything you want to find. You will find the perfect shirt for your team for you in that world. Trust me, that is a wonderful place.
My idea is something that I have not been able to find. And this is specifically a Delco thing. At least it's been my experience. That is something I've seen in Delco. Like when people get dressed up to go out to a bar on a Friday night or Saturday night, and they want to look their best. It is remarkable to me how often they go into the closet to find their nicest Phillies jersey as their way of dressing up, right? Like that's you're not going to wear the beaten down Chase Utley jersey that you've worn to 25 games that you've spilled nacho cheese on or whatever. No, you're going to go back and you're going to get the Ryan Howard pinstripe jersey, right? You're going to go out, you're going to get the nice one, that you can wear out to impress people.
That fresh Brad Lidge jersey.
Fresh Brad Lidge jersey. You've worn only 3 to a couple of weddings and maybe just the right kind of funeral. Like that's what you're talking about here.
My blood-stained Ben Revere jersey is not appropriate to wear to this cocktail party.
For some weddings. It's just not. And so my thinking is MLB needs to come up with team-themed suits, like 3-piece suits.
I knew you were going to say that. Yes.
Like a red jacket, maroon jacket with like a powder blue vest and like a maroon and blue tie, or some, just some offshoot of that, like a red and white pinstripe, suit. Like you would have seen like when they used to do all those posters back in the 90s of, like, I remember there's one with Don Mattingly, Hitman, where he's wearing like a white and black pinstriped suit with like a gun case, but it was a baseball bat case. But really just go all out, so that when people from Delco, my people, when we want to go out to Barnaby's, on a Saturday night, and you want to look your best, you don't have to go dig into the closet and just grab your best jersey that everybody in the bar is going to be doing.
Or your best suit.
Right. No. You can have the best of both worlds.
It's one or the other,
Right.
Yeah.
You can have the best of both worlds here, and this is what I would like to see Major League Baseball come up with. Phillies themed 3-piece suits. That's it.
Now, are you willing to pay $2,500 for that 3-piece suit? Because that's about where I'm thinking this. Okay,
absolutely.
Great. Then I want to see it. Let's do it.
The number of people that would do that. I'm imagining groups of dude friends getting together and pooling their money to buy one, and then split it, and they share it, and they each wear it.
What you get is groups of people where one of them wanted to be the one who was crazy enough to show up in that suit, but then multiple ones do it. That's your demographic right there.
And on the back of the suit, it would have your name and then whatever number you wanted to assign yourself. So that's how. Just
my husband would have worn that for our wedding if that was a thing, and you know what? I would have let him.
This is solving the problem again of what to wear when you go out on Friday night. Just to be clear.
Correct.
Got it. All right. Great.
Yeah. Obviously.
Yeah. Just making sure.
A wedding or a funeral.
It's got so many reasons. I don't want to pigeonhole it, but that was my initial thought. So
Phillies, make me a Fanatic wedding dress. I'm going to get remarried to my husband, and I want to be swathed in green tulle, green satin. I want that lime Fanatic green velvet. I want a giant Fanatic snout on top of my veil.
Phillies next City Connect, make it Fanatic green. And the bill of the cap is the snoot of the Fanatic.
How'd they
miss it? It's right there. How'd they miss it?
It's perfection.
They're just not seeing it. All right. We got to wrap up. We're long here. Let's do some final thoughts. If this wasn't the final thoughts,
Good Lord.
You think I have more thoughts after
How?
all that? You think I
No.
got reserved thoughts?
Nope.
Now, at the end
If
of this
there's anything
episode.
else-
Brains are empty, kids.
If there is anything else, fire away. If not, we can
Thanks
wrap up.
for
But
listening. Happy holidays.
Yes.
From Hittin season. Thanks for listening to this show, even when it is not baseball season. But yeah, as always, I enjoy doing it, and I enjoy that you guys listen to it and enjoy listening to it. And obviously, I enjoy doing it with the two of you, John and Liz, as well. So
Same
it's
here.
another great year of doing that, and of everybody getting to enjoy it with us.
Yeah,
Could not have said it better myself.
absolutely. Merry Christmas, everybody. Thank you so much.
Happy
like Justin
holidays.
said. Yeah,
Pre-order
happy
some of the
holidays.
cheap wieners as makes a great Christmas gift. Everyone has told me I'm buying it for my dad.
There you go, which means that's perfectly for me. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for this edition of Hittin' Season. Make sure to check out the podcast. You can watch it over at the WHYY YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube, WHYY, subscribe, and you'll get every episode here this offseason over at the WHYY YouTube. And, of course, tell your friends and family members, Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever it is you get your podcast. And you can email us here at the show, hittinseason@billypenn.com. Thanks for listening, everybody. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to all of us here from Hittin' Season. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next time right here on Hittin' Season.